it's working. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it stopped the stream. Okay, it's working now. I think.
Mashallah, good study.
Mashallah, thank you.
Thank you.
MashaAllah, brother.
Mashallah.
Sorry, I just came in, but what was the beginning? Which was addressed?
So we read from Surah 19, verses 1 through verse 41.
Okay.
Yes, I'd like to comment on the verses about Zechariah. It says here that it says, "As I implore you, my Lord," on verse 4, "As I implore you, my Lord, I never despair," right? And this always catches my attention, because if you think about a person who has been married, in this case Zechariah, for such a long time, and he is old, where his bones are brittle and his hair is gray, um like, this probably will translate to him being married for many years, and eventually, like, for people, when such a long time has passed, most people normally give up, like, they'll eventually just um be in terms, find themselves like agreeing with this idea that, okay, they can't conceive, and they will just give up, right? But God says that none despairs of God's mercy except the disbelievers, so this is a very, very important lesson for all of us, and it obviously, is something that, it's guidance from us, from God, and support, to give us a lot of strength. Like, if we truly believe and be, someone that never despairs. I mean, this is not about, how people say, like, no, you believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, you can do it. No. This happens in your situation, no matter how much you believe in yourself, if God doesn't want this to happen, you can believe in yourself all you want, but it will never happen. And you have to believe in God, and you have to believe that with God anything is possible. He can do anything because he has all the power. We don't have any. And but we also have to remember that, why this is bad for somebody to become a disbeliever when they despair, and why devil wants people to despair, so he can say, look, I mean, this person has despaired from your mercy, and he can classify this person as a disbeliever, right? And I think why really it should be so serious is one thing, at least, that comes to my mind, is that you have despaired from God's mercy, right? So, like, God is so merciful and so generous. You are sort of doubting God's power of his mercy, that he, it's not about you, whether you're so righteous and God will give it to you or not. It's about how merciful God is. And, I mean, for God's mercy, like, it's not like God, if God gives you, let's say in his case, that they needed a child, it's like if God gives them a child, like, God would be short on children, or something, right? I mean, God has, um God's treasures are immense. Like, he could assign a soul to him. Like, there's so many souls in the depository of souls, I mean, God is no in no shortage of that, right? He could do anything. So the thing is that, when we doubt that God can, grant us something, that is us, having not good thoughts about God, because it's like that one person that you are friends with, and then you think, no, no, this person's not kind enough to help me in need. When I need something, like, no, he's not nice enough to give me what I want when I really want it. Like, it's one thing whether you deserve it or not, but the thing is, if you despair from God's mercy, you definitely don't deserve it. So one thing is for sure, that we should, what we learn from this consistently, from the Quran, from this account and many other accounts in the Quran, is that, there's, at no cost can a believer ever despair from God's mercy. Like, if you tried something for like your whole life and you always failed, let's say, right? Like, they tried probably for their entire lives and they failed to conceive, but they could still not give up, because they were still required to have their faith in God and their hope in God. And finally, he turned to God and he implored him, and God answered his prayer. And so also, that brings another thing to mind, is that, if there's something you want and you're not getting it, maybe you forgot, um, that you have to keep imploring God, and you have probably tried, all different things, but you haven't really sincerely turned to God and put your complete dependence on him and prayed to him to grant you something, and have faith in God to answer, that he can answer it if he wants, and he might. But the moment we despair, we're giving Satan, a claim against us, and we're basically providing a proof against ourselves that we have despaired from God's mercy. But when we read these stories, like, these seem like so extraordinary, right? But this is like the requirement. This is like a basic requirement for every person, to be a believer, to be considered a believer. If you don't have this, you become a disbeliever. Yeah, I remember this one couple that comes to my mind. They were an old couple. I consider them hypocrites, anyways. But I don't know if I should even be talking about this. But I want to share this, because like, they were quite old, and they weren't planning to have a child, and it was an unplanned pregnancy, basically. And they ended up expecting, and so they were like, oh yeah, we should name this boy Yahya, because God gave this to them in an old age. And this boy turned out to be a real tyrant. They were always just complaining about him, and saying that, that actually one time the woman showed up in a Quran study. I remember, because he kind of grew up. I was there they were pregnant, and I was there when the boy had grown up, like he was a teenager. And then it was one time, the mother shows up in a Quran study, and she's like, is it okay, like, is it bad, like, if I pray to God that God should take away my son?
And he must have been really bad.
Yeah.
I would have told her, it's probably better that you pray that maybe he makes him righteous, but
Right.
or like, at least if he ends up going
Yeah.
away, like
Yeah.
it's before 40 or something, so
Yeah,
he
or
can at
reflect
least
on why, or also
get
reflect on why your child is a source of grief for
it.
you,
Yeah.
Like, this
Mhm.
person was I consider her a real hypocrite. Like, she was always coming and, like, putting doubts in people about the messenger, and both her
Oh
and her
yeah,
husband
yeah,
were,
that's
making
right.
statements about, videos and audios, being a source of hadith and stuff like that. Like the guy I even remember, like he gave a presentation at the conference. Like I'm talking like 15 years ago, where he was saying, no, no, we should not keep videos and audios because people can have fakes. Because like AI was just kind of like in its like birth stages. And he was already bringing that up to people. Look, like you can generate this and that, and people
We
will make
already
in the
have. We
future.
already. Yeah, we already
Yeah.
have. I mean, that doesn't have any basis because we already
Hmm.
have. Like, we know what's the real ones, and if we see
Right.
anything else, like we'll know. Okay, this is
Hmm.
not matched up. And if someone's
Yeah.
not
We
sure,
are
they can.
timestamped. Yeah.
Yeah, they can just timestamp and go back.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what
Yeah.
number is this is saying is audio
Hmm.
36? We go back to audio 36. Like, no, this is a
Hmm.
fake. And
Right.
and especially when more people become submitters, they're
Hmm.
gonna be like,
Hmm.
Reverend, I mean, they're not going to want to even do that.
Hmm.
And then they're going to be probably
Hmm.
people dedicating themselves
Yeah.
solely to scoping this stuff out. So, yeah, that's
Yeah.
for him to say
Yeah.
that. That's probably why that happened to his child, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, another thing I wanted to mention here is that like most people, when they don't have children, they just want a child, and they're like, oh, like give me a child, and they want a boy or a girl, which we shouldn't have a preference. They're both blessings from God. But then on top of that, like they have worldly goals for their children already. Like, oh, I want my child to be a doctor, I want him to be this or that. I want them to be a celebrity. I mean, there's all kinds of parents, and so like, but the thing we see here is, they're asking God for a righteous child. Maybe they never ask God for righteous kids. Maybe they ask God for kids, or maybe they never ask God for anything. When it comes to a child, maybe they had already disbelieved that God wouldn't give them a child. Who knows? But in this case, like I want to say that that Zechariah in this case, he was asking God for a righteous child, to make him acceptable, and then with all of these children that we learn, uh, they're saying that even Jesus, right? I mean, he says he did not make me a disobedient tyrant, right? And they were to regard their parents. They looked after and they honored their parents, right? We see that for both of them, Jesus and John. So these are the traits of the believers, right? The believers will naturally have that reverence for God, and they will naturally have that respect and reverence for their parents too. Like it's because God says it's a second commandment. And so I think like even when we're born, like it's not something that we have to open the Quran to learn that we have to honor our parents. Like some things, good and bad, like we have some it's like almost like an instinct, like you're supposed to have, like when you see the disobedience and the the tyranny and the children yelling at their parents, like you naturally like feel like evil, like it's evil behavior. um at least for me, like I mean, I don't want to brag about myself, but like as a child, like when I saw other children do that, like I inherently knew that it was really really bad. When I saw people treat their parents badly, like it would make my heart it would scare me actually, to the like it would kind of make me feel gross about it, which is why I think that we may already have like this. We may already have like some instincts about like what's good and what's bad. Like not everybody reads Quran, but people have a certain insights or certain inherent knowledge about what's right and what's wrong. Right?
Brother, you're lagging.
Lagging.
Yeah.
I
Oh
think I was able to hear. Okay, maybe let me check the stream.
yeah.
But
Were
yeah, I
you guys able
understand
to
what
hear?
you. Yeah, I was able to hear from my end on the study, but I don't know about the stream. Um, but know that
No,
my
he's
end it came
here.
out okay.
Yeah. Well, he's not on the stream. He's in our study.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
tried. Maybe it might be
No,
your connection.
your stream was lagging in the sense that your picture was coming first, It happens to me sometimes, but the audio comes later.
No,
Okay,
it's
I
the
see.
audio. It's like your audio is lagging, but I can hear John perfectly. I don't know what it is, but
Uh,
wh where were you going, brother Suleiman?
I wasn't
It's
going
going
anywhere.
against our it's going against our national fitra.
Sort of, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where's the fine line between someone being destined going to hell or uh them declining God's protection and God is cursing them?
Yeah, so I think we have to kind of stick to the format, and we can talk about that question, I guess, in the off-topic section, God willing.
Okay.
Yes, that's a good question.
yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, just on touching on what you said, I feel the same way. Like I think someone maybe, and it's not to, but someone meant to probably maybe God willing eventually be at least a submitter or a good person, like in the
Good
context of
human being,
worshiping
yeah.
God, and yeah, good human being. As a kid, they're not gonna like, even I've seen going through the same stuff, and then I've seen other kids like disrespect their parents, and also I think too, like even if our parents, when we're young, they ask us to do chores or make us work. Like even
Mm-hmm.
if we rather like, oh, I'd rather go play outside or play maybe my video game or something, we're still gonna obey them like our father without question. And even if there's some of the stuff, like we have to stay up, like there's things that, but it's never unreasonable, but there's a lot of other, I think,
Mm-hmm.
children out there that rebel and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, mistreat, curse their parents and
Yeah.
stuff. I've witnessed this,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, and I mean, we're not talking about like parents that are abusive and
of
and
course,
stuff,
yeah,
right? We're talking about normal parents that
yeah,
nurture their kids, that provide for their kids, and then the kids just turn out to be rotten, you know?
yeah. Yeah, I think it's a greater reflection, if you think about the second commandment, how it's
Yeah.
it's a reflection of like you're still, if like upholding the principle of loving and honoring, as we're supposed to honor our parents and love them and treat them amicably, honor your caretaker, the one who's, we know God is the provider and ultimate caretaker, but it's a greater teaching too, I think, when we set this principle for ourselves, or at least it comes naturally. I mean, it's the same. God assigned our parents for us, and they're, and so honoring them in this respect and being appreciative. Naturally, someone who I think does this is gonna have the part, at least part of the foundation down to do the same and more for their creator, who also is
Hmm.
protecting them, also caretaking them. I mean, just as our parents protect us when we go to the store, like walk with us, hold our hands and stuff, treat us kindly, they give us our food provisions. I mean, God does all this for us. So for someone to
Hmm.
not do this for their parents is very sinful, and it's a greater reflection. Like you would probably assume that this person would end up acting this way towards God at
Hmm.
some point. So it's
Right.
I think good lesson
Hmm.
here. And it's an important commandment.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, if it's called the second commandment, I mean, you better, be careful because
Yeah,
it
yeah,
must be important.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, because like even I was actually, that's funny. We're talking about this because I was driving, I think, a few nights ago, and I was like thinking about some things, and then I was like thinking about, if I had a kid and, you'd want them to treat you. And I'm just thinking about old age and stuff. And I'm like, man, imagine, having a kid who's very kind to you. Like you can't do some of the things that you do anymore. And, your kid gets older and grows up and then treats you
Hmm.
very nicely versus,
Yeah.
children who don't. I mean, like, children who can be borderline abusive too. I mean, I don't know why
Hmm.
I was thinking about that, but I was just like
Yeah.
kind of imagining that, and
Yeah.
I can see, like we would want like good kids and good treatment for
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. So, I mean, we as children naturally should, uh, always. I mean, not just children now, even because we still have interaction with our parents. We should always do that, for our parents too. Because like we'll be, God willing. I mean, like if we live that long, we'll be in their boots one day, and so like, how will our
Mm-hmm.
kids be acting towards us?
Yeah. And especially once people become parents too, like they understand like what a struggle it is to raise children, you know. And so, if you think about the fact, I mean, the sacrifices that the parents would make for the child just to be able to grow up and have education and food on the table and all these things, I mean, um, it takes a lot. So naturally, the child needs to be appreciative of that, and any normal person should expect to have those feelings for their parents of love. And plus there's biological connection between them. You have oxytocin and all these other things that, especially with the mother, like you are given by God, to create the bond and everything. And then I mean, the fact that your father is there also, let's say, to provide for you and stuff like that. I mean, all these things, if you look at, for example, kids who are orphans, people who go through foster homes and are traumatized for the rest of their life. I mean, you can really appreciate like what a blessing it is from God for someone to just have parents that kept them, didn't abandon them, etc. Didn't physically abuse them or sell them. For example, we're hearing all these crazy stories
Yeah,
right
very
now.
true.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah, I've thought about that too. Like, cause it's interesting. Like the older I've gotten, and the more friends and people I've talked to and met upon life, like I actually look back on my childhood and my upbringing, and my parents, and I'm like, man, I was really like lucky. Because when you're young,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you have much to compare to, or even if you have friends and
Mm-hmm.
you go over to play at their houses, you don't know what's going on unless they tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and that doesn't. You don't know if
Mm-hmm.
their parents are going to get divorced 2 years later when you're no longer
Mm-hmm.
friends with them or going to the same school. So like, it wasn't until I got older that yeah, like that's another thing to especially be appreciative for, because
Mm-hmm.
especially like you had mentioned, like we can see that. I mean, parents can do some of the worst things uh, for their kids, and I mean, vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, vice versa, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a question though about what do y'all I think it was about the trying to think and just maybe need to go look back at the verse oh, it was verse 10 for Zechariah. He said, "My Lord, give me a sign." He said,
Mm-hmm.
"Your sign is that you will not speak to the people for 3 consecutive nights." So what do y'all think about this verse? How do y'all understand this?
Mm-hmm. Your sign is that you will not speak to the people for. Yeah, I mean,
Like, did
I
he
don't.
purposely? Because I was always when I would listen to this and think about this, I
Mm-hmm.
always had like these thoughts of either one or the other. Like, is he is it a sign that he's supposed to carry out? Like he deliberately not speak to the people for 3 nights, or is it something that just
Yeah,
happened and then after the
yeah,
fact, like, oh, this is the third night I didn't speak to anybody.
yeah.
Oh, this is my
I
sign.
think. Yeah, I think that his sign was that something would happen to him that he would not be able to speak to the people. So, I
Oh,
mean,
yeah, that makes sense.
so like it's
Right,
like he asked God, and then he says, "Give me a sign," and then God says, "Your sign will be that you will not be able to speak."
right.
So let's say in a common scenario, like someone ends up losing their voice or have a really bad sore throat or something,
Right.
that
Yeah.
they
That's a
can't
sign.
speak, and they're just using like signals to talk to people,
Signals. Right.
you know.
Yeah. That makes
But
sense.
yeah, but also the fact that God told him to meditate day and night.
Hmm.
Uh, it says yeah, it says
Meditate on God day and night.
meditate on God day and night. He said no. He said
He
meditate.
said,
He went
yeah.
to his family and signaled to them, meditate on God day and night.
SubhanAllah. Yeah, that's very nice. So he was also, his family was probably, of course they were believers too.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
this also showed his trust in God. And
Mm-hmm. So did John have other brothers and sisters, or was he like the only child?
I think he was maybe an only child, but I know he was related to Jesus, at least from like,
Mm-hmm.
like he was Jesus's, or wait, no, 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 hang on. I know Jesus had a half brother, James, who they also murdered after, like they went after all the,
Half brother? What do you mean half brother?
like half, like I think I think it might have been
No, I
like
mean
half brother
Mary is
meaning
virgin.
no, 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 I know, but like I think like step, I'd have to look it up, but he
They
Step.
had different dads.
the Zachariah I think had
No, so
Zechariah wasn't of I know like they're brothers and sisters, like brothers in the sense like yeah they're not blood related but
yeah,
they're
yeah. So basically, Zechariah was the guardian of Mary, right?
married, right?
So Zechariah had a son named John.
Right.
So in that sense, they were related, right? But he wasn't his actual. Well, he wasn't her actual brother. Like, he was the guard. Zechariah was the guardian. So of Mary. So John becomes related to her as the son of her guardian, right?
Yeah, that's how they were um or Jan
Yeah, kind of
like a step.
step brother, but not literally. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know like Jesus and John were pretty close. They like their
Mm-hmm.
stories in the Old,
Mm-hmm.
New Testament and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But and yeah, they also it was the same thing. Like John was very righteous and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also doesn't the Quran refer to him in a later part that he was a prophet and a saint? So he must have gotten some type of, I guess, scripture.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
I
yeah.
think
So
I think it
yeah.
was
So I mean, the Bible, there's stuff given to
in the
John
Bible,
also, right?
right? Yeah, yeah. But also, it's important. The Book of John has nothing to do with this John. It was John, one of the disciple.
Mm-hmm.
The Book of John,
Yeah.
but just basically one of Jesus' followers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, but also it's interesting,
It
when it
also
comes
talks about
to
in Surah 21. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say also it's interesting this thing about like the same chapter like we just saw about John, he will not be able to speak to the people for 3 days, right? 3 consecutive days. But then we see in verse 26 from Mary too, it says, eat and drink and be happy when you see anyone say, I have made a vow of silence. I'm not talking today to anyone. But in this case, she will actually be telling people she has made a vow of silence. She will not be talking today to anyone. Um, so what do you think about that?
Yeah, if there's anybody else, I think I had.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of touched on that in the
Mm-hmm.
study. So if there's anybody
Yeah,
else,
it says when you see anyone. Yeah, go ahead. I don't think anybody has input on
uh,
that.
yeah, I looked at. I kind of always saw the situation, like as something that she doesn't have to defend. Not that
Mm-hmm.
we shouldn't defend ourselves. We should always, but
Right.
like the level of the whole thing that just happened, and
Mm-hmm.
it's
A
very
lot of stress.
taxing. Yeah, so much stress,
Mm.
very taxing
Yeah.
physically and mentally, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're probably
Mm-hmm.
deprived of nutrients, and you can't think
Right.
and stuff. Because I mean, she's a human
Yeah.
being too. She's not like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
a
Yeah.
superhuman or anything. But it's like you don't, and then you'd have to explain the situation to this group of people, and then you'd have to
Mm-hmm.
explain it to another group, and that's extremely tiring. And then you don't. You're trying to explain it a way where they'll believe you, and then tell them like, "Look, I'm in," and that's like you went through enough. Like you don't owe these people. So that's kind of how I always saw that, and then God helped her, and the infant did all the work, the light work, like, and did the speaking and the and then also it should have showed to the people about that
Yeah.
she was righteous and it was a
Mm-hmm.
miraculous birth, miracle birth.
Sure, yeah. And then also it's interesting that, out of everything that Jesus can say as an infant, he also says that, um, I am to honor my mother. He did not make me a disobedient rebel. So same thing about honoring the parents for both uh, Jesus and John. Yeah,
I mean
Michelle.
it's such a huge thing. Also, I mean I mean, because I think it's in line with the Quran. That's why I'll quote Proverbs, but it says what Solomon wrote. But basically, he said, "Cursed is the one
Hmm.
who dishonors his parents." Like he said, "You'll bring a curse upon yourself." Like the child who
Hmm.
scorns and scolds his
Hmm.
his, his parents.
Yeah.
Like they bring a curse
Hmm.
upon themselves.
Are you wearing the headset?
No, no, no. I wasn't. I was just eating something.
Yeah, no,
So,
that's why I'm asking if you're wearing a headset because I can hear everything you're chewing.
oh, I'm sorry. Sorry,
No, it's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
It's okay. So, yeah. Also, I don't know if anybody has any comments about the verses too, but I was also needed to wanted to make another point about verse 37. The various parties disputed among themselves regarding the identity of Jesus. Right. I mean, I think that is so true about the various parties that are still disputing the identity of Jesus. Like all these sects and subsects in Christianity, where some believe in Trinity and others don't, and some think like he was from Mary being a virgin and he was from God. Others believing like, oh, Mary was had an affair and this and that. Especially like the why the Jews were cursed, for example. And God says that, therefore, woe to those who disbelieve from the side of a terrible day, right? So these people, God says these people are disbelievers because they don't recognize the identity of Jesus. Like for Jews, for example, thinking that he was a liar, someone who was just pretending to be a messenger from God, and then all the Christians who believed that he was a son of God or God Himself. I mean, God's basically is telling us that all these people are disbelievers, and God says, "Woe to these people on the side of a terrible day." Says 39. They're totally oblivious. They do not believe. And how verse 40 talks about, says, "We are the ones who inherit the earth and everyone on it. To us, everyone will be returned." Like in other words, it's not going to be Jesus, you know.
exactly. Yeah, like
Yeah.
the video I just posted the other day had a few comments. Like I laughed at one of them. It was a folded comment. I
Uh-huh.
don't know if I should laugh, but I honestly thought it was kind of funny, even though it was like, uh,
Uh-huh. Which
but
video?
it was the one about Jesus, about the about Jesus's true teachings and what he said about worshiping God alone, and he was not
Oh yeah,
God.
your video. Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
see. The
yeah,
one
and
you
the
made on
two
TikTok. Yeah.
books, yeah, the Messenger had, and
Mm-hmm.
those are like the best, like the world renowned Christian and Jewish scholars that came to the same conclusion unanimously. And
Mm-hmm.
so, but yeah, like there's a lot of people. I mean, even yeah, still today that are still disputing that Jesus, and they're talking about the raptures. And there's even within the Christians, there's non-Trinitarian Christians, and then there's Christians that believe in the Trinity, and then Christians that believe in this false teaching, the rapture. And it's
Mm-hmm.
really insane because they're also disputing, and there's a lot of animosity and hatred, and that's what remember the verse in the Quran that talks about them. It says, "Oh, people of Scripture, because they've rejected this, they've been committed to animosity and hatred among each other until the day of resurrection." And they're
Mm-hmm.
constantly like they're basically, and that's what you literally see today. I mean, and we're probably going to continue to see for the Christians
Mm-hmm.
who still worship Jesus, worship Paul,
Mm-hmm.
and disobey, and they're and yeah, it's just like the Quran says. There are a lot of sects that they rejoice in their some of the information that they inherited, and it's a lot of it's just pretty much just false information.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're still waiting for the false Jesus to come back, and then some people are saying,
Mm-hmm.
no, the false Jesus comes first, and then the true Jesus comes after, and then other people are saying the opposite. Yeah, this guy I used to listen
Yeah.
to. I mean, he was
Yeah.
like, when I was a kid, like
Yeah.
they're so some of these people are so arrogant. Like when I look at like as I've grown older and coming into submission, and I've seen them again, and I'm like, man, yeah, these people are
Mm-hmm.
they're very bad, and they're just as what the Quran talks about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think we can talk about the off topic now. Um God willing. If there are no other comments about the verses or the questions about the verses. Um I think brother Ashraf, if he's still here, he's still here. So brother Ashraf asked a question about when do you draw a line between someone being a disbeliever or you having hope for that person, right? So maybe we can talk about that. I might drop off temporarily because I have a class starting online now. But I'll just join and I'll come back, because I have to be in attendance. Otherwise, I'll lose points. But I don't have to actually listen to the teacher. But
Sounds good.
I just want to quickly mention that in a nutshell, basically, like it's a judgment call that you individually will have to make because you know that person better than anybody else. Like it's not something that someone else can tell you that there's hope for this person or not if they don't personally know this person, right? So the personal knowledge you have about the person will guide you to make that decision. But while you make that decision, like we have to, God says, you can't say that unless you're absolutely sure, right? Like don't say this person believer or disbeliever. Um, there could be various reasons people end up doing that. It could be out of convenience. It could be some other thing. It could be so many factors that could make people just hastily make that decision about someone like could have, who could be a potential believer. So you have to be absolutely sure. And the thing is that you should like exhaust all means um, uh, before you come to that conclusion. So make sure, like, if you have talked to this person and you have given them all the evidence and they have still decided that no matter what you tell them, that they'll still believe in whatever they believe. Their mind is made up, then based on your knowledge about that person, you can come to the conclusion that there is no hope for this person, and you can make that judgment call. So that is my response to that question.
Yeah, okay. No, because it's not going anywhere. They criticize me perhaps because I am giving them the message, as we have a history together. And on another note, it's them being blasphemous even to the Quran they quote unquote uphold and uphold themselves. So I'm not sure which out of the four it is.
I think you got cut off.
Um, okay, maybe
Which
someone else can respond if you
which out of
got
the four days
time.
you said? I
Yeah,
just didn't
so
understand the last part.
which out of the four is it God's curse or the predestined? Is God removing the
Oh, you're
protection,
talking
or
you're
are they
talking about
just
specific. I mean, I think people are not clear who you're talking about. Like,
family members? I'm giving them the message, but they don't want to take heed, and they're even going so far as to uh mock the religion and mock the Quran they uphold themselves.
okay, so I think my voice was cutting out too. So I was asking, like, are you? I think some people might not be clear who you're referring to. So are you talking about like
I think
your
his family.
your
Uh,
parents?
oh,
Yeah. So yeah. So when you're talking about the curse, I don't I don't know if it's the curse because I mean, just my 2 cents there, right? Like, you're the best judge on. I mean, I think that the causes are relevant, but the thing is, like, you still have to make that choice. But the thing
Mhm,
is, like, it's not. I don't think personally, like, I don't think it's based on the fact that like you're classifying them as like quote unquote Arabs, right? But you're talking about 3 generations, so like, 3 generations is a lot of mixed blood, and for all you know, um like from the little research that I guess I have done, and the experience I have, being in Morocco for the last 1 year or so. um like, there's really no such thing as like Arabs in Morocco. Like, the people who speak Arabic, have different descents. And so even if your great grandfather came from Saudi Arabia, let's say, right? I mean, like, 3 generations, like, he could have, you don't know, like, the whole lineage, like who he married. Like, if, let's say, he came and every person he married was also from Saudi Arabia, which I find hard to believe, like, purely, like, then potentially, like, you could put them in the category of them being cursed. But I
mhm.
wouldn't I wouldn't confuse myself with that. I think you should give them the benefit of the doubt, like, and you should definitely, because you're also a submitter, right? So, like, if it was a curse and you're putting them in that category, then that automatically puts you in the same category. And I don't think that's true, or even fair for you or for them, because I look at you as being Moroccan, in the fact that, you, not Arabs, the fact that you have been in Morocco for more than 3 generations, and there's a lot of interracial marriages in that process, so I wouldn't I wouldn't consider that as Arab, that in context of what the messenger of the covenant is talking about.
Yeah, but I was more referring to God is removing the protection because they decline God's invitation to worshiping Him alone. and thus puts a curse on them.
So the thing is, you still have to do your part in exhausting the means of you giving them the message. Um, Based on my brief discussion with you, I mean,
Hmm.
they're yet to read the translation and appendices and everything, right? So it's very difficult. Like, it's not an easy task for someone who spent their whole life, being one way. I mean, unless you present to them like the substantial amount of evidence, like the messenger presented, and they're able to read it and comprehend it, like then you can maybe come to that conclusion, But until then, like before you write them off as disbelievers, like it is a responsibility on your shoulders, to do your best to convey them the message as efficiently as possible. Like you sending them verses, is good, but and should be, sufficient for maybe certain people, but for others, like they might need more evidence, right? So I mean, that's just my 2 cents on it. Like, I mean, I would think, because the thing is that the way the verses of the Quran have been used in the past, anybody can pull up verses and twist them. And this is really my experience. Like, I've read books in the past. I haven't read a lot of books, so I'm not trying to impress anybody. But like, I have read books in the past where,
Thought you said you
like,
don't like books.
I haven't read a lot of books,
I was just,
but I've read
I
some
remember.
religious books in the past. Like at one point, I read a bunch of books, and like I've seen, like, they're so misleading because people, it's so easy for people to just take verses of the Quran and give them a spin, in a direction that they want, like towards idol worship, towards hermetism, towards anything, right? And
Yeah.
people are, it's very common in Islam. So someone reading verses in Arabic, and then on top of that, people telling them like, no, you need scholars and this and that, like, there's so much chaos around it, so much noise around it, right? It's for someone to give up all of that, all of the past that they have understood and believed and lived to consider as Islam. Like, they need to see all the evidence, like they need to see all the mathematical proofs, and to be able to understand and comprehend them, to be fully convinced, especially if the person giving them the message is less than half of their age, or half of their age. I don't know, like, it's difficult, right? For someone, like, especially when you yourself are just a submitter, new submitter, right? They need to see stuff. At least you should try, to not give them any excuses in that sense, and give them at least the full message in its entirety presented to them, and let them read it, or offer them to at least read it, and then wait to see the reaction, right? Before you can come to that conclusion. Like, it's a big step, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. We're going to the level of denial for the sake of denial and being making a mockery out of it.
hmm So
S-
yeah, so like I had mentioned last time, right? We have the full Arabic Quran that we didn't have before, with the appendices and everything, right? So at the very least, I think, like, maybe you can try to offer it to them to read it. Ideally, like, I would say, like, maybe you could have a full printout, or once it's published, you give it to them, and then
I I
see the
did.
reaction.
I tried to. It was
You tried what?
I tried to give it to my sibling, but she wasn't open for it. She called it something with a book of Satan.
In
Well, I
English,
told
right?
her it, yeah, in English.
Okay, so she understands English.
Yeah, we all do. But
Okay.
she said it was a book of Satan or something,
hmm
if I
So
remember
the
correctly.
also, another thing is, I would say, I don't know if it's the same for other people, but at least in some cultures, you know, like if you want to learn about like Islam, you know, you should probably not. I mean, I know like for a lot of people here, like it doesn't. They might not be able to relate to it, but the thing is, like, you know, English is kind of, or the Western culture is kind of looked at as an enemy of Islam, right? Like
Mm.
psychologically, that's how it's been perceived for generations, right? So it should at least be in their own language for them to be able to read it. Like at least for a lot of countries like Pakistan, at least for example, you know, like if you try to give the Quran to people in English, like they will look at you like there's something wrong with you. Like if you want to tell them about hadith and stuff, like even in India, for example, right? Like India, everybody speaks English. Like it's a second language, but everybody speaks it. But the thing is that the Muslims there, you know, they don't even read anything in English or even in Hindi, which is their first language. They want to read it in Urdu, which is
Mm-hmm.
the language that the Muslims speak, you know. Be,
Yeah.
so these types of things we should also think about. You know, like I know these are subtle things for a lot of people, but I just maybe you're right at the end of the day that your suspicion or your conclusion about them turns out to be correct, you know. But all I'm saying is that you still have to do your part diligently, and not leave any step undone. Like don't leave any stone unturned, as they say, you know, like try to do everything that you can so that at the end when you make that decision, like you're absolutely sure 100% that you made the right decision, you know, and not have like doubts about it.
Are you gonna make your class, brother? I just want to remind you, just
Oh
in
yeah, yeah, I
case.
need to I need to. Thanks for
Yeah.
reminding me. I've
Okay.
missed the three of my classes before.
Oh, yeah, I would say too. That's very, very good. Um, yeah, you don't want to have second thoughts or ever have any regrets. You know, I'm not saying that you would or you wouldn't, and yeah, you could be very well right, just like Suleiman said. But also, it can be tough sometimes because you know, like you would want you would want to be shown. But yeah, I mean, do because I mean, I had gone through similar things. But it's important to put the ball in their court, and then you can. But at the same time, like we have to make sure we're doing everything we can, and even surpassing like any insult or anything or any, you know, we just set or make sure our ego is killed in this manner. I mean, this is an
Yeah.
important commandment because it can be the difference. Because I know how it feels like if somebody said that to me, like something similar has happened before, and then I just kind of wanted to like, I got kind of upset and like, yeah, this person is a, you know, like they're bad, and then I sat on it for a couple of days, and then just had, you know, really we should try to be compassionate, more compassionate, merciful, and understanding, because you know maybe they had a headache and maybe they're afraid, you know, they're afraid, they're very afraid of being everything they grew up and everything they were taught was a big lie. And that's part of the defense mechanism I've noticed coming from Christianity, which I've seen. It's a very uh, daunting thing for people, but the person who actually got introduced to submission and kind of introduced me to it kind of around the same, we found it at the same time. And but I still knowing like in my gut feeling, just their initial response, because it can tell you a lot, but it doesn't for sure tell you. Because even if you're 99%, 99.5% sure, that 0.5% can still hit. It can still happen that they become a believer. And I mean, we do have examples like from the scriptures and other examples that. So, but I ended up doing the same thing. Like I mean, and I exhausted all measures. It was a long process, and then talking with them, and
Mm.
then finally, I mean, I sent the code to them. The big thing for them was the contact prayers and then the other things. And even though I knew, I still wanted to make sure I did everything I can because you know, uh, I don't want to have like any claim. Not that I was afraid of this, but like you know, or anything to answer for like, oh, you could have done this. Maybe what if you just show this person this part of the miracle, the contact prayers, the math proofs, and then that was what it was. They just needed more convincing. So I did all that, and it's still, I still got the same outcome. And then, I made, I made the decision to, separate myself from someone who's wanting to go to hell.
Yeah, okay, but why do we need to exhaust every possibility or measure or even going out of our way, sort of, to give them the message when they simply just decline? They're responsible for themselves at the same time. And God said,
Well,
you need to,
we're just making sure. So what we're saying is doing everything that you can do, right? So,
but
uh,
you're responsible for yourself again. Worry about your own neck, and you should distance yourself from
yeah, I mean that
such
type of
family
attitude
members.
is selfish. I mean, if you're not gonna, I mean, imagine, I've seen this
Mm,
before with people. Like, imagine you
yeah,
were in their, imagine your brother had the message, and then
uh-huh.
you were in a bad mood one day or whatever. You're going through things, and he gives you the message, and you're just like, no, get away from me. I'm not interested. And then imagine you get to the day of judgment. I mean, imagine like, I mean,
Mm.
maybe I shouldn't say this, but like, I'm just trying to, you want to put yourself in other people's shoes and not just think about yourself, because what you would want for yourself and how you've been given the message, how merciful God has been. You don't want to just, who's more evil than one who can. I'm not saying you're doing this, but these are verses in the Quran. Who's more, maybe you are right, but we shouldn't. You shouldn't use verses. I don't think you should use verses about worrying about your own neck, and using that as a context. Like if your brother or your sister doesn't want to hear about the Quran, he's like, okay, yeah, write them off. Like that's not right to
Well,
do that.
no, I wasn't finished. I forgot my train of thought, but another verse that I wanted to mention is something in the context of when you're giving them many chances to look into it, and they're just continuously, without any effort, mocking God and the religion, then just excommunicate with them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you feel that you've done everything you can, if you really feel that way, then yeah, I mean, do what you feel is necessary and be done with them.
But can yeah,
That's from what you gathered from the situation. I mean, only you're the best judge of that. At the end of the day, we're just, you know, uh, um, touching on the principle of,
mhm.
doing everything we can. And I mean, it sounds like maybe you have, and they don't want to hear it. So yeah, I mean, at that point, you're responsible. Everyone's responsible for themselves. So we're just, touching on like the importance of making sure we're doing everything we can and not uh, writing it off. But like I said, you're the best judge of that. You've grown up with these people, especially, so that's, their tendencies and stuff and
Mhm.
everything that they say. So that's, yeah, I mean, that's all I
Okay.
have about that.
Can you give me
Yeah, I
those
was gonna
verses,
say,
actually?
sorry, what was that?
Can you give me those verses, Brother John? Can you post them?
Yes, yes, God will. I'll
Okay,
grab it.
so
Shukran.
yeah, so I was gonna say that the fact that you have invited them to submission already, right? So technically you haven't really concealed it or anything.
Hmm.
You know, that would kind of apply to, in my opinion, like towards, for example, scholars and stuff, for example, who know about the true identity of Jesus and who know about worshiping God alone, like say the Pope knows about the Quran and stuff, and they know about the verses or they know about the contact prayers and stuff, and they're not proclaiming it to the people, right? I mean, it's kind of, to me, that it would be more applicable towards that side, but the thing what we're talking about is like you yes, you are worried about your neck, right? But part of worrying about your neck is to be absolutely sure, like the verse I mentioned, like you cannot say to someone that they're a disbeliever and write them off, prejudging someone, based on their, your initial uh, examination, or whatever you might want to call it, is not Quranic. Like God says, when you judge, right, you have to judge based on Quran. And the messenger talks about that. He says that, unt- if you have hope for that person, you're the one who will be the judge of that, right? If you have hope for that person, you can't lose hope for a person if you haven't fully tried, right? First of all, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
try, and once you're done trying and you have exhausted all means, then you are supposed to lose your hope on that person, right? uh, Based on common sense. So you do that, and then if you have lost hope, then you can write them off and disown them. Otherwise, you can't disown them, right? If you disown them at that point, like you're breaking the commandment, right? So God says we have to be absolutely sure before we do that. And until that, you're supposed to not only not disown them, but it's not just even about your parents, it's about any person. God says you have to treat them um, in the best possible manner. Jews, Christians, Muslims, you have to treat them in the best possible manner, because they can turn out to be submitters, and they can turn out to be better than you and me. He says himself, right? So
Mm-hmm.
God tells us that we have to treat them in the best possible manner. We have to debate with them in the best possible manner, and we have to treat them as potential believers. And if you don't, and you end up repelling these people from submission, and if the and in that case, if they end up going to hell, then basically you're kind of carrying that sin too, right? So it's not that you can't take it lightly, like maybe you tried to give them a couple of verses and stuff. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you have to be the judge, right? The idea is you have to be the judge. Like um talked about it a lot, but you have to be the judge. If you have concluded after exhausting all means that no matter what I say, they're completely blocked, I've given them all the proof, they still don't believe, then that's the right time, right? But if you say no, I'm only responsible for myself, and you can say that, for example, if you're walking on the street, you don't have to give the message to anybody, you're just responsible for yourself, you can just go around. Or you can even say that about, let's say, your neighbors, or about your, but you're talking about your own family members that you are supposed to regard, right? So if you have certain responsibilities towards those people that God tells you to take care of them, give them charity, etc., right? So you can't just disown them without doing your due diligence, right? That's the point here, basically.
Yeah, I think the verse you're referring to, Suleiman, was Surah 2. It was one. Yeah, there was
Hmm.
subtitle, but the ones I was referring to, I just put them in the chat because they don't just go for. I think that one I think you're thinking about was for corrupted religious leaders. That's Surah 2, verse 174. Those who conceal God's revelations in the scripture in exchange for cheap material gain, etc. But the ones I'm referring to is, I mean, it's applicable to any of us. And I said it, I referred to it not for what brother mentioned, but just like the general principle or the comment I guess he made. Like I didn't, maybe I misunderstood, but when I heard, worry about your own necks and not like not making a sincere effort. And I'm not saying that's what you were doing. Maybe I don't know the entire situation. Um, not making an effort. Uh, we don't like we have to proclaim, the truth for people. So and
No, I
not
didn't
just
say that. But brother John, I said going out of your way and um by using all measures and extremes almost. And it's even going to the point of insulting and making a mockery out of the religion and even their own religion. That's what I'm talking to.
Yeah,
That's what
okay.
I'm
So I
talking
mean, yeah,
about.
if oh, okay, you were saying that they were going, okay, I misunderstood.
No, like I don't care if they criticize me, including the message I'm giving them.
Right,
They're having
right.
preconceived notions about me,
Mhm.
and they're taking that into the message as well.
Oh, okay, I'm
Um,
sorry. I thought you said going out of your way, like that wasn't, and then, okay, I didn't
no,
know you were referring to them. Okay, yeah.
no.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I
yeah,
wouldn't.
so
It's tough because I would not want to be or like be subjected to that. I mean, I'd rather them actually insult me because I can deal
yeah.
with that better than actually insult God or His revelations. And I've had this happen, like with a guy I used to work for. He used to make fun of the pork thing, and he used to even oink. Like so Suleiman knows about. So I've told him, and he actually he has the same birthday as Apophis.
Mm,
Anyway, the Apophis is Friday the
Who has the same
13th, but
birthday?
this is that guy I used to work for.
Oh,
I've
he has
told
the
you
same
about
birthday.
that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's April
oh,
13th. But
But
yeah,
then
he's
soon
got the
he's gonna
message
get
for
a
a while.
nice birthday gift. Huh?
Yeah, yeah, he used to mock and stuff.
So
But
I'll
like he
tell him
did,
all the rare earth stones are coming as a birthday gift for him.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
He can go pick them.
But yeah, like I could deal with that. But like I think one time he said something about, and I actually told him, I said I don't care, like, and he really thought he wasn't doing anything wrong because we joke and cut up sometimes. This was years ago. This was like back in 2021 when I first like decided to become a submitter. Um, so but I guess he took it a little too far, and like then I told him, I said, hey man, I said you can clown me and all that, but I like leave the message. I said because you're actually hurting your own soul, and I'm not gonna like listen to this. And then he apologized or something. And but anyway, uh, yeah, I mean, if you're the best judge, as long as you feel you've um done everything, and
Mm.
yeah, I mean, maybe they're not meant to
Yeah.
believe, but some
Yeah.
people,
So
like I said, like some people get really afraid, Ashraf, like
yeah.
they violence, and I'm not saying they're violent and belligerent, but like they can be subtle ways where they become very afraid of the truth because like it'll completely crush their entire belief system, which was based on lies to begin with, right? Like
Hmm.
with worshiping Jesus, like the things I've gone through with they get very defensive, and it's kind of like a fox backed into a corner, and they'll snap at you and stuff. But really, maybe these people, God doesn't want to, their hearts aren't prepared. I'm not going to say what God wants to or knows what is being done, but I'm just saying that it could seem like their hearts aren't prepared for the message. So, but yeah, we
yeah,
still wanna do the best ourselves and maintain righteousness and not like get duped into. I'm not saying you're doing this, but like I could see it easily happen to me in the past where you don't want to say something back and then sin or you want to basically, like Suleiman said, you want to be a good steward and example for submission, because that'll make them want to accept the message more. You know, like I've seen this with people like me working in the industry I do work in. There's a lot of it's kind of gotten less nowadays, but there's a lot of cursing and stuff, and then like people I've given the message to that actually was like and invited them more because they noticed, okay, just the way this person is being, so like in the same way how you maintain your uh you know um I guess persevering in the face of their utterances and stuff, their insults, just disregard them.
Yeah, okay,
yeah,
but that's what I meant with where's the fine line
yeah.
between
So I think the fine
someone
line
is,
goes to the hopelessness, right? When you have lost all hope for that person, right? As I said, like you have done everything. Have you done everything? Like if I ask you now, Have you done everything to give them the message? Like, have you presented to them the miracle in its entirety, the proof of the messengership, like all the mathematical evidence? Have you given them all of that information, or have you just had like discussions with them, like verbally?
It doesn't even go so far. They're not open for it. And even when
So
I'm
you
showing them
can't. So
Dalil,
so yeah. So see, the thing is, maybe they're not ready for it yet, right? Like you can't say because someone doesn't want to have it. Maybe they don't want to have that conversation with you now, but unless you've had those conversations with them, like you can't really make that decision. Like someone can mock you at some point, right? But it's because they don't know you. Maybe some people, once they get to know you, they won't be mocking you, right? Just as an example. And so, in the same way, like someone looks at a message, if the message is not conveyed, properly, I'm not saying that's the really has to be the case, but let's say if you haven't even like so to my I got the answer I got to my question was no, right? So when you do that, it has to get to that point where you actually have the conversations, or at least the person says, you know what, just get 20 feet, I mean, just get out of my face. Like, I don't want to have anything to do with you or your religion. If you come close to me, like, I'll call the police or whatever, I'm gonna get a restraining order against you and stuff like that. Like, you can't come to that conclusion if you're not even able to have those discussions with them. Like, if you're not even able to uh, get to the point where you can have that conversation, that you can't write them off. You know, like
And
but
maybe
my
just give
advice
them
yeah,
to you would
time, like
be,
sit on it. You
yeah,
know,
you
my
like
have
advice to you would be, my advice to you would be to
uh,
take it easy, and maybe take it easy to the point where they feel comfortable talking to you, and then slowly you can convey them the message, and maybe find an opener where you can have the discussion with them, right? um
yeah.
may I mean,
No,
that's
but
just me speaking from the outside, but again, you're the judge. When you have those conversations with them, then you can say, right? The thing is, if someone hasn't even seen the mathematical miracle, right, how can you say this person disbelieves in the miracle when they haven't even seen it, right? Until they see it, like, you can't really make that decision,
no,
right?
because they simply don't care. That's what I'm trying to tell
So
you.
the thing is,
They
the thing is that you have to give them some time, at least, for those conversations to happen before you can jump to those conclusions, brother. That's what I'm trying
no,
to say.
because
yeah,
it doesn't go so far. I'm trying to,
Inshallah, it will. You have to
but
be maybe just you have to
I
kind
have to
of
give some
maybe kind of
years.
stop talking about it for a while, and just have normal conversations where it doesn't get in that process, and then find a better time when you can have those conversations with them before you decide that they're disbelievers, and I disown them.
yeah, but it's been almost 2 years, and
It's been almost 2 years. I mean, you said you became a submitter a year ago.
yeah, that's when I decided to become a submitter. Prior before
So,
that, I had doubts about hadiths, and I was addressing them. I started to
right.
start
So the thing
believing in
is, you
them.
just became a sub.
Yeah.
So the thing is, you just became a submitter a year ago, and
Uh-huh.
so you have to give them some time. It took you at least some time, also, right? How much time
Yeah.
you have given them, right? Is the question. Have you given
I
them as much time
mm,
that you gave to yourself? Like, how did you get the message? Or, like, it had to come to you to a point where it became convincing, right? And if you don't have those facts in front of them, it's very hard for me to understand, like,
yeah.
uh, that you can write, like, you can say like such people are not religious. Maybe they're not looking for religion right now, but to me, I would still consider them potential believers, because they
Mhm.
have the potential, because they haven't been in that position. Like, let's say, someone can be like not just in religion, they can be like all absorbed in the worldly life. Something could happen that wakes them up, like shocks them, and they turn to God. Like, I remember, to be very frank with you, like when my mother was reading the Quran, right?
Hmm.
She was trying to get me to listen to the Quran. And I was like drinking and I was doing partying and stuff with my friends. And I wouldn't even want to listen to it. Like I would literally, I remember a few times, I literally put my hands on my ears, like I don't want to listen to the Quran. That's what I told her, you know? And things changed after that when it came to a point where I felt like I needed God and I saw the evidence, then I accepted it. Obviously the miracle was convincing enough for me that it left no shadow of doubt for me, right? But I had to see those, I had to come to that point. That was like at least a few years after that, that I wanted to listen to the Quran, right? The same person I'm talking about, right? Like I went to her and I told her, she had a book that someone had given to her about God's attributes. And I came to her and I told her, I said, someone had given to you a book about God's attributes. Like, can you give me that book? Like, I want to read it, Because she was the one who was trying to invite me to God in general. And then, then out of a miracle, like she brought a booklet that we don't know who brought it in our house, how long it had been there. My mother hadn't read it, and she brought the book in front of me. That's how I was introduced to the message. And then when I read the facts, the mathematical miracle, like it gave me goosebumps. And I wanted to really read the Quran after that. So the thing is, what I'm trying to convey to you here, brother, is that you have to give people time at least to have that chance, so that they're ready, to hear it. I understand that you're getting frustrated because they're probably saying things that are not right, and but there is because ignorant, right? But they might be disbelievers in the future. We don't know, but they can also be believers. That's why the term potential. So until you have
Right.
those
Even if
conversations, they're
there's
potential
2%.
believers.
Yeah,
You
like
know.
even if it looks like even 98%, you know, like even if you still have 2% or 1%, I mean, that's still enough to have hope for them. Because I mean, my situation when I got the message years ago and then uh never did. I believed, in everything. Because I mean, like the things that happened around me, and then coming from Christianity, and then like how the Quran talks, like these things I didn't even know about these verses in the Quran, and years later when I came back into submission and I read them, those things had actually happened to me. Like when I first got the message and began watching the video, so it was like a good indicator for me. Uh, but yeah, Satan. I mean, Satan is trying hard with a lot of us, and I mean, as with them, I mean, his hit list is the submitters. As we know from the messenger, and also kind of, I guess, logically, it makes perfect sense too. He's not worried about the people who are idol worshiping, but lo and behold, anybody who comes close to submission or gets the message, he's gonna, I mean, go into overdrive and divert, his resources. I guess, meaning his time and whatever other scheming he does to this. I mean, because he hates more than anything for people to become submitters. This is his whole objective. Our objective here too. It all ties into this. So that's also something that may help to think about, like how he's maybe can
En
encourage you to
endorsing,
have a little more, kind of take it easy and let it sit
yeah.
and give it some time and stuff.
Yeah, but Satan's also endorsing their idol worship practices. What I wanted to
Are you
reply
living with them
is
too? I was just curious. Like, are you're living with your family, like your mom and dad and your sister or whatever?
I got several siblings. Most of them, they don't live at home. I live with two of
Okay,
my siblings, two other siblings, and my parents here.
okay.
Yeah. No, what I wanted to reply is, yeah, I've given them plenty of time, but I'm worried more so for them because they're making a mockery out of it, and insulting even gods, and they don't care.
Can you give us like an example, like when you say they're making a mockery, like what kind of, how, in what way, like
Yeah, okay, I'm showing them dalil from the
the what
Quran. I'm showing them dalil, proof,
proofs? Yeah, yeah.
uh, from the Quran, verses, and they simply don't care, and they ridicule
Hmm.
ridicule that verse even when
Which
it's
verse?
from, yeah, several verses when it's from their
How do they
Quran.
ridicule? Like, what do you mean?
They mock it.
Like,
Like, what do they say? Do they raise their
Yeah,
voice at you, and do they scoff
n-
and like laugh and then say, "Oh, like what do they actually
they insult it. Yeah, vile language, for
like? They
example.
curse and stuff too?
Yeah, as well. And
Really?
one Satan worshippers, what
like
else?
name calling.
Yeah, yeah, not only name calling, but really cursing. I don't want
Hmm.
to get it going there because you
So
can
what
really
happened? Like,
translate
how
it.
do you how
Yeah.
do you get in those discussions with them? Like, do you try to bring religion in? Like, do you try to push religion into the discussion, or how does the it even get to that point?
No, I'm just trying to give them the message or them trying to ridicule
Yeah, so you
did I
have to
say
take you don't
yeah.
have to, like, see, the thing is, like, I
It
don't
doesn't
know,
have to
like,
happen overnight.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like I
exactly,
realized that a while.
like
It can go a
we're
while.
not, yeah, like,
No,
it's
I'm
not
not
like, the
every
Crusaders,
yeah,
or
everyone
like,
on its own pace. I understand. I said
right?
I gave them plenty enough of time and from time to time. But it isn't going anywhere again because they criticize me and the message
Okay,
I'm
so
giving them.
just take it easy. Like, there's no urgency, right? I mean, you don't have to,
But
like.
there isn't any urgency. That's what I said. It's not happening in a time span of a week. It's pretty long. Like I said, 2 years or something.
Even 2 years sounds like a very long time to you, but it isn't. Like, I would say just take it easy, because they're probably, just let them come to it. Like, you don't have to, like, you don't always, how do I say it, without offending you,
Hmm.
or I'm not trying to
Yeah.
offend anybody, and I'm not trying to insult you or either anything, right? But for me to be able
Hmm.
to describe what I'm trying to say, I have to use those words. Like, you know,
Hmm.
I'm saying this because, like, uh, I understand how other people see submission, and how they try to spread it, and how they try to indoctrinate it in, like, the whole Discord group. So I'm not sure, like, exactly how this whole thing occurs, with these people, right? But I see sometimes, like, people are really trying too hard, like, no, no, I have to convert these people. Like, you don't have to necessarily, like, do it that way. Like, it's not like you got the message, now you go after people. I'm not saying you're going after them like that, but, like, like, we're not like Jehovah's Witnesses or anything like that. Like, you just
Hmm.
have to set a good example. Show them the change that submission has brought in your life, for example. Like, if there's people like that, like, who are not interested in religion at this point, like, you don't have to put that in their face either. Like, what, this was the word I wasn't trying to use. I was trying to stop myself from using, but I'll use it because we don't have to put the religion in their face if they're not ready for it yet. Like, it's a great thing to share the message with people, but the thing is, the people have to be ready to hear the message, right? And if someone's not ready to hear the message, like, fine, just move on. Like, if they don't want to talk about religion, you don't have to bring the religion. Like, no, it's not your job. No, I have to save you, for example. I'm not. And again, I'm not saying you're doing it, but there's a
Hmm.
mentality out there, which is why I'm saying, and this mentality, particularly surrounds, like, people like Naveed and all these other people, to be very blunt. And
Yeah,
so that's why I'm saying, like, if your siblings or your parents like are not ready to hear the thing about religion, like maybe you should like take it easy and let with your own life like set an example where they would be interested and they would see in your life like the change it has brought, like as Brother John said, with his coworkers and stuff, and they will naturally be attracted to the message. Like they will see you, they'll see your life, they'll see your success, they'll see the happiness in your life, and they'll automatically want to know like what does this guy have that is making him so successful, and happy, and as a person and complete and everything. And they'll naturally be attracted to it. If God wants submission to be the religion for them and God wants to guide them, you have already introduced it to them, like they already know you're a submitter, and that's all they need. They can go anytime and search it now. You don't have to like really like keep pushing it.
but
Does it make sense?
yeah, it does make sense. But where does it, where's the other thing comes to play when you said I'm responsible when they're going to hell for not giving them the correct message or something?
I'm saying you're responsible if you write them off as disbelievers, and they're potential believers, that you're responsible at that time, right? So until you've had these conversations and discussions have gone to that level where they have seen the proofs and they have rejected them, right? You can't write them off. Like they're still your family members. You have to regard them, and not only that, like you have to treat them in the best possible manner, and if they're showing like signs of disapproval, like when you talk to them about religion, like you can ease off the religion, just don't bring it to them. Like if not everybody wants to become a submitter, like the first time you become a submitter, when we first become submitters, we're excited about submission, we want everybody to become submitters. But it doesn't work like that, right? When
Yeah.
you were ready for submission, God gave you the message and you got it. you know and but God also says there's no compulsion in religion, and you
Mhm.
just set the best example and wait and be patient. You have introduced them to the religion. You can maybe have these conversations from time to time, but if you see that the other person is becoming uncomfortable, like just maybe ease off for a little bit. And once you've come to that decision that no, this person is an enemy of God, I have no hope for this person, like this person will never become a submitter because they've seen everything they have, and they're still so hostile towards it, then you can easily make that choice, say, you know what, I'm not gonna be friends with this person, I'm not gonna allow them in my house, I'm never gonna visit them, I'm not even gonna wish them happy birthday, I'm not gonna go to their funeral. Those things will happen at that time, right? But but
What it,
until you've had detailed conversations with someone about religion, like don't write them off as disbelievers. The message
Yeah.
of the covenant, and it's not about time. Like the message of the covenant, for example, said he tried 4 months, for 4 months, to give the message to his father, right? But it escalated very quickly. His father was not just an ordinary like uninformed Muslim, right?
a
He was a
Christian.
Sufi person, right? I mean, he was known Sufi leader, and he knew about the Quran, obviously, very well. And but the messengers of the covenant, like he said, he tried to give them the message for just 4 months. He says he didn't say just 4 months, but he said for 4 months he tried to give him the message. And at the end of the 4 month period, like it came to the point where his father said that I'm not going to step foot in this mosque until you put Muhammad's name in it. So like his dad made a very, very firm decision that he's
Mhm.
not going to, he took a stand that, I'm not even going to step foot in this mosque until you
He's
put
seen the proofs. He
thing
saw the proofs
right.
of
And
everything
his
happening.
father, yeah, and his father, he's tried to send hitmen and stuff like to kill him. That's what he said, or at least that was the threat that he gave to him. You know, he
It's
wanted to
so
get him
bad.
killed. Yeah, so that's the point that it came to, when he where he concluded that, you know what, like he's a disbeliever, right? Like kind of like very similar to Abraham's case, you know, like he said, unless you stop, I will stone you, which means I will kill you, right? So um so you know, it hasn't gotten to that point in your case. Like they're just making things, but the thing is, like you still don't want to befriend such people. If, for example, if the people start mocking and ridiculing you,
Yeah.
you don't want to befriend these people, right?
Yeah, don't sit with
You
Mm-hmm.
want
them
to,
and don't
yeah,
unless they change it
yeah.
to another subject. And that's
Hmm.
kind of where like if it were me kind of going off a little bit, I know I would just take it easy and not even talk to them for a while and just go interact with them normally. And I mean hopefully they're nice people too, like outside of religious ring, they're kind and stuff and nice. And that's kind of how I would just do it. And then later on, maybe if the topic or something came up. But um, yeah. Yo, brother Suleiman, you were saying, well, never mind. I was gonna.
No, no, that's
Never
fine. Yeah,
mind.
that's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but where's the limit for someone to be guided when they even mark out and their own religion?
Sorry, what was that again?
If someone is even being blasphemous to their own religion, do you think that they're going to be guided? Where's the
I mean, we don't
limit?
really know, I guess, until like with time. Um, but I mean, we can have an idea, but just because we have an idea, or maybe the picture is painted, like it points
Hmm.
to probably this outcome, even if it ends up being right, unless we're 100% sure, we've done all the due diligence, then we can maybe make a
Hmm.
decision. But
Yeah, you can
uh,
say that it doesn't look good,
yeah,
definitely, right? But you still can't write them off, like conclude just based on the fact that maybe they said that. You know, I mean, you
Yeah,
it might be that you're right. You know,
yeah.
but you still have to go through the exercise. Does that
right.
make
Like I
sense?
knew, I knew,
Like Moses.
yeah, like I knew I was right about my father, and I don't want to. I hope that doesn't sound like wrong when I say like I know, like
It
I guess
doesn't.
I could better say I was 99.9999999 about that much feel strong about my father, but I still, after talking with Suleiman, because there was kind of like a two part thing with my father. I didn't talk to him for a year, and then reinitiated to what I had known, and then also Brother Suleiman got to speak to him, and could hear. But yeah, like with him, it was pretty scary. Like not like for me, but like it was very. I guess like it gives you chills and like reverence for God because like you see the Quran and some things, some of these verses hit home. Especially, I think it's when you know a person so well, and especially because it's someone that came so close to the message but dropped out because of his ego and the messengership and stuff. And it was very knowledgeable too, but that doesn't it's not going to save anybody. But I did like, even though the picture was pretty much painted for me, I still did my due diligence and also for myself too. Also it was a way for me to to also I did it for myself, like my own even though but yeah,
Yeah,
after I
because the
got
thing with yeah, go ahead, John.
no, I was just gonna say after I got like the hardcore confirmation and stuff,
Hmm.
um like you see the person running towards the ditch and then you don't really see anything that how you don't believe he's going to be able to stop unless there's some type of divine intervention. And then, but like once I saw him fall in the ditch, pretty much figuratively speaking, that's when I like, okay, yeah, he's literally destined
Hmm.
for not for hell, not for something good. I meant to say he's destined for. because he wants to go there. Like I know him and the things he was saying, but this was what I'm saying. This wasn't just a like at first. I think 2 years, 3 years ago, I wanted to like because he would argue with some of the verses and then try to twist them and spread doubt and stuff. But I just looked past that, and then I was just patient and stuff, and then he was very sneaky and crafty, but um, but but yeah, man, I just gave it time, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, the thing
I
about
love
his
that
father
quote.
was that he was, saying things about the messenger, his opinions and stuff, because he had heard things from Adib, and he sold on that, and he was having all these thoughts about his opinion and all that, and idolizing the messenger maybe could be one of those things also. But he was saying, like, you don't have to do your salat and everything, like you can pray to God all day and stuff. And I told him, I was like, maybe he hasn't read about the mathematical miracle, and I think, like, he had read about the miracle, but he didn't know about the mathematical miracle and the contact prayer and the units and all that stuff, right? And then like we discussed that, and then we concluded that no, maybe you should still make one more effort to talk to him, and then present that to him, and see his reaction. And then we saw that once he presented it to him too, like he pretended, at least at that
Yeah,
point, that it was making
you
sense,
remember?
and then he would do it, the contact prayers, and then we found out he was not doing it, contact prayers.
Yeah,
And so it was like, yeah, okay,
yeah, he's not.
um yeah, he's not serious about that. So
So, anyway, it's a lot of information, but going by what my family shows me and how they going after religion is not good, and
hmm.
it really shows predestination, in my own opinion. Like my parents, they're really old, and if God found any sincerity in them, He would have guided them, and not in such an old state. Like my father doesn't understand when I'm trying to give him even the message.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I'm not sure where I should go from there on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like you said, the signs are in the wrong direction, but it might be a little too premature to conclude. You know, wait a little bit. And and see if things change, maybe for a little bit, before maybe
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
an opportunity that comes in where you can give them the Quran with the miracle. You know,
Maybe just
that
give it a
would
little
be
bit
real
more time.
evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
that'd be
yeah,
real evidence.
but what if he already has Alzheimer?
What he already
It's
has?
just
What?
an example. Alzheimer.
Alzheimer. He has Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's.
No, I'm just giving an example.
Uh,
I mean,
uh,
um, God could fix it.
I would have a completely different. It's non-religious or non like
Yeah, I mean,
off
God could
topic.
fix it.
Mm.
God
It's
could
not like
fix
he has
it.
lost an arm or a leg or something, right?
No, but as in, when someone is already on the brink of dying and having Alzheimer or whatever, can they still receive the message, or are they done for it?
You
I
you
mean,
mean like if
maybe.
they don't have any
Yeah.
chance left to grow their souls?
Yeah, exactly.
You would want to hope that maybe they could live. I mean, there's a lot of people I think about like that were diagnosed
Hmm.
with like stage 4 cancer, and they did some alternative treatment, and then they're on
Hmm.
YouTube, and they're being
Yeah,
interviewed by the news
parasites.
station. Yeah, parasites, and then they end up living and getting rid of it. So I mean, the same thing. Alzheimer's. not to go off topic, but like he could come across some information, God could put it his way, and then he could do some heavy metal detox is and get these chemicals and stuff, which they've been linking to
Hmm.
Alzheimer's and other things out the brain. You can, like doctors, oh no, you can't get this out. Like, no, you can get this easy. The body, the liver can get it out. And but anyway, like something like that could happen, like, and God would be the one doing, or God, it could just be removed, you know. But I mean, we know God is a system, and we have to make effort. Like, if we want to, you know, uh, you know, uh, stop feeling sick and start or something, we maybe need to cut back sugar or, just an example. Like, or we need
Mm,
to do different. Like, we don't want to. Oh, God can just make me, non-insulin resistant or something. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, like he could believe, in the context of that, and then maybe I don't know. I just think like if I was in his shoes, like, and I got the message, and I look back on my life and like what I would do to give back, and to be young, like where I am now, and be able to grow my soul. So I would definitely like want that for myself. So that's why when I'm thinking of someone in that situation, uh,
Yeah.
they can maybe just barely make it,
Hmm.
because if I
Yeah.
was them and
Also.
just got the message, I would like be praying to do anything, and I'll be
Hmm.
doing everything until my death, and then hoping I made it. So I think that's how we should have like
Hmm.
compassion with people, because like what if that was us,
Hmm.
like our situation.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this like in terms of like the verses that talk about mocking and people who mock and ridicule the religion, right? So
mm,
if they are mocking and ridiculing, like that's why I was trying to ask for the examples of like what do you mean they're mocking, right? So it's
Mhm.
like if it gets to that point where a person's mocking and ridiculing your religion, like God says that like what does
what's the
God say
word?
about that, right? Have you noted those who befriended people with whom God is angry, they neither belong with you nor with them. They deliberately swear lies, right? And God talks about you will not find people who believe in God in the last day befriending those who oppose God and His messenger, even if they were their parents, right? These are talking about people who are hopelessly stuck in disbelief. But then the verses that talk about befriending people who mock and ridicule your religion, you can't befriend those people, right? So
Mm,
so with these types of people, whether they're your friends, family members, parents, you can't befriend these people, right? And maybe they'll change, right? But you can't befriend these people. But like when it comes to disowning someone, you have to be completely sure that there's no hope for them. Like maybe your dad is in that category, given the fact that he's kind of like
Mhm.
based on your description on his dying bed. But like your sister, for example, maybe she's young, also, and the fact that if she hasn't seen the miracle and stuff, I mean, she still has a long life ahead of her. You know, maybe things will
Yeah, yeah.
make sense at some point.
Maybe his sister could.
Hmm.
Yeah.
no, my father
And
is
your mom
above
too.
80.
You know.
No, my father is above 80. My
Mhm.
mom is above 60. But
Right.
I doubt.
Uh,
I think they're destined to go to hell, in my opinion.
Hmm. I mean, you could be
Yeah.
right, like I said, right?
yeah.
But for your
Mm,
mom, I would say give her the Quran in Arabic with the whole message with the
Yeah, there's probably
miracle
hope for your mom.
before, at least at the very least before you decide, to stop.
but
Uh,
she really doesn't care about her. Again, I told her, What's more important, actual God, worshiping Him alone,
mhm. Okay, so
or
just get fine. She doesn't care.
whatever your
Hmm.
parents did and their tradition?" And she made her choice. She said, "Tradition and culture is more important than whatever you're upholding. What is,
Tradition.
yeah,
Wait, what did she say? This
He said
tradition is
tradition and
more.
culture is more important than whatever you're upholding.
yeah, which is God
Yeah, I
alone."
mean that's kind of indicative. Like she's not taking her hereafter
Yeah, well, I
serious,
mean,
especially when you're
does she
getting up
believe in the
there in
hereafter?
age.
Like,
She
Say
can't
it
be, because
again.
like if she was reverent, I mean,
sounds like
when
she's
I
not even religious.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It sounds like she's like just mainly secular, like
No, she is. She is.
like because there's a lot of Christians and Muslims that are actually really not religious. Like it's just a secular thing, and it's just like a club. Like they're not even like, or it's just something that they grew up in, and like they
N-
don't even care much
n-
for. They don't
No,
even like care. They don't
it's
even do a good job worshiping their idols. So it's like double insult
yeah,
because like they can't even
exactly.
consistently worship Jesus. Like that's even
Yeah. Yeah,
even
and again, for those people that are absorbed in the worldly life, like sounds like that kind of category. God says, don't befriend such people. Like, you know, don't spend time with them, or you'll end up being like them and
yeah, because
stuff.
they'll try to convince you, and then they'll try to
Yeah,
instill doubts and stuff.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
Don't
But I mean,
um,
even.
that's everybody. Like, for example,
yeah,
you could have many people in your workplace. You know, most people are not interested in religion. You know, but you can't write them off just because they're not
right,
interested in
right.
religion. You know,
Yeah, you can still treat them amicably and like work
yeah.
with them and stuff as
Until
long as they're
you've had these discussions with your mother, for example, I would hold off until then.
What you mean? Hold off as in
I mean,
permanently, or
hold off on like disowning her. You know,
I should
'cause,
disown her.
after I mean, I'm saying that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, we just read about it. You know, or honoring the parents. So it's a big responsibility until you have given her the full message. Like, you know, all excuses. You know, until you run
But
out of all excuses. Like, don't jump to that conclusion. Like, from what you described to me, at least she sounds like a non-religious person, and there's many people like that around us all the time, and we can't write them off as disbelievers. You know, they're potential believers. There could come a time, let's say your mom could develop a serious illness that could be very disruptive for her, and she may turn to God. You know, and then you can tell her like, hey mom, like maybe you should think about the decision you made. Maybe this is why these things are happening. You know, and she
told
made the wrong
her, but
decision.
she doesn't want to take heed, brother. Like she
That's what I'm
simply
saying. It
doesn't
hasn't come to
care.
that point. Like, has she had that disease, and have you given her the message? Not yet,
is
right?
she I guess what
As
we're saying, like has she actually seen with her own
mhm.
two eyes the miracle, the superhuman number, the 12,000 digit number, the contact prayer, that enormous number like KHYAS, ALM.
Yeah,
Like
but
has
she
she actually seen that like and kind of looked at it and then
no,
understood it and then rejected? Because that if she does that, then yeah, I would be done with the
she's not
situation.
open for it. She's not open for it. That's what I'm telling
Yeah. It. I mean, it sounds like John. It sounds
you.
like your mom too, for example. Like, she's not interested right now, right? And
Yeah, but she
but
she
that
she's
could
a lot
change.
more. Yeah, but
Yeah.
she's a lot more, I guess, kind than what I'm hearing. Like
Right.
she
Right.
she
Right.
does believe in God. Like she
Mm-hmm.
listens to when I explain it to her, and
Mm-hmm.
she's really awesome. But she just,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like a. And she even told me one time, like she even said, and I told you, like kind of the circumstances around when she revealed this to me. If you know what I'm talking about, Suleiman.
Mm-hmm.
But we were outside talking, and she was like, "John, I'll be honest with you, none of it makes sense. Like, she was talking about the Jesus thing. Like, how is some human dying on a cross? Like, how does it even make sense? How can you possibly mathematically absorb the sins of the world? Like, it doesn't." I said, "Yeah," I said exactly, and I'm like happy, but still, but she's never rejected it. So, um, but yeah, I mean, it's a little different, I'd say. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's similar. You're
Yeah.
similar, yeah, but different. But okay, yeah, bro. So mine has to go to bed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
You,
Godwin, you guys can continue, but
Okay,
if you want, but or if you don't want.
maybe brother Joffer. He's
Well,
probably
Jeff is
sleeping.
also pretty late. I think all of us is kind of late for
Yeah,
us, except you, John.
yeah. Well, it's six
We're all.
nineteen here in Texas, but I
Mm-hmm.
gotta start getting ready for
Mm-hmm.
work in a bit.
Right, right, right. Inshallah. So I guess thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Brother John, for leading the study. God willing, our next English Quran study would be on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. And God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.
God bless you all. Salam alaikum.
Peace.